Hi. Today I'd like to share a little bit about my story, how I got to where I am today, and my background. I often get curious looks and inquiries when people find out I'm both an Ayurvedic practitioner and a pharmacist. Maybe they knew me as a pharmacist first and then wonder why I would um, switch paths to be an Ayurvedic practitioner. Maybe they know me first as an Ayurvedic practitioner and then they're like, oh, whoa, you're a pharmacist? How can these two worlds possibly exist? And how did this happen? People ask all the time, tell me your story. So I'd be happy to, but we have to go back a while. So bear with me. My very first job was when I was 14 years old, around 1996. So you can do the math. I was in my small hometown soda shop slash pharmacy called Henderson Drug. For those of you who are old enough to know what a soda jerk is, also known as a soda fountain specialist per Google, that was my job. For those of you who don't, you can Google it, but it involved a lot of scooping ice cream and making 10-cent cherry Cokes with real cherry syrup. Something you can still get to this day, although there's no longer 10 cents. It's no longer 10 cents and there's no longer a pharmacy there. And it's called Shooties Ice Cream Shop. It was fun to be among the town happenings at this anchor shop and hub of the town, especially as a farm girl, not seeing people outside of school much. Me and my fellow soda jerks experimented making different kinds of malts when it was slow or enjoyed serving the after church crowd on Sundays, many of whom liked to put a packet of peanuts in their 10-cent cherry Cokes. Harold was the pharmacist in the back of the store, and he and his wife Marge lived in the upstairs apartment. They instilled a work ethic in me to always stay busy. The boss is coming, start dusting. Harold, walking a fine line of rules set by the Board of Pharmacy, always had his patients first in mind, and if they couldn't afford medicine, he often helped. Maybe even giving it without a prescription. But he especially had a fondness for cancer patients. After he passed away, we also found that he had a 22 handgun in his pharmacy drawer, and we were cleaning things out and found this. So he was very protective of his money and his assets. But it was here that in the evenings of the store, I helped out in the pharmacy by stocking prescription vials and bags. And I looked upon the shelves and shelves of drugs with wonder and was fascinated to think about how they worked, what did they do to the body, how did they interact with each other. I was 16 and I decided I would go to pharmacy school. And as luck would have it, and I do say luck, I sure didn't have a 4.0 like applicants do today, but I was passionate about rural pharmacy and helping people. And in rural pharmacy, there's quite the lack of healthcare providers. And after 2 years of pre-pharmacy school at North Dakota State University, I was admitted to the University of Minnesota College of Pharmacy and started in the fall of 2002. It was the number three ranking pharmacy school in the nation, and I just felt so humbled to be there. It was the only school I applied to. I was a first or second year in pharmacy school when I began dabbling in classes offered at the Center for Spirituality and Healing, located adjacent to the College of Pharmacy building. First, it was a weekly meditation, stress busters, lunchtime gathering with Eric Storley, still a dear friend and mentor of mine, who I also collaborate with for retreats. I found it helped with life stress, test anxiety, and I got sick less. You know, when you take a big test and you lead up to it and then you get sick afterwards, that happened less. So I went to take on more classes. I was hooked. It was a good balance to the heavy right-sided brain I was using in pharmacy school. I learned about yoga, Tibetan medicine, and more, and I will never forget the first time I heard the word Ayurveda in a class about integrative medicine, where we touched on different healing modalities each week. I had never heard this abstract word before, and when I learned its meaning, it was a total epiphany. A light bulb went off. And this is a time in my life when it was um, life before Ayurveda and life afterwards. It made so much sense to me. I wanted to know more. I furthered my studies with the center by traveling to India twice with a class to learn more about Ayurveda, Tibetan medicine, and yoga. And I have since been to India 7 more times on my own. By this time, I found a new passion in Ayurveda, but I was too deep into pharmacy school and debt to quit. But I knew my passion had shifted. I went through a difficult time in my life with a divorce, and at this point, um, and all the principles I learned thus far was an anchor to get me through that, especially my mindfulness and meditation skills I had learned. So I got through pharmacy school and I ended up securing a residency at the University of Minnesota Medical Center, Fairview East Bank. It was intense and fun, and I found I enjoyed the intensive care unit, which is where my 18 years of practice in pharmacy has been focused along with cardiology. You may ask, well, what happened to your rural pharmacy passion? And I still am passionate about rural pharmacy, but I never stepped into a hospital at this point, and I just had found that I loved it. And it was my fourth year of pharmacy rotations. My first rotation was at HCMC Intensive Care Unit. So you can imagine my first patient was a gunshot wound victim, and um, yeah, the rest is history. So I changed hospital jobs a few times, and I still work for Fairview at a different location, but Ayurveda never left my mind. I applied it personally in my own life, but really struggled to integrate the two and realize it's not possible. They're totally different paradigms of thinking about health and wellness. Um, so I kept going through the motions, and I'm good at what I do. I kept my longevity in the retail space, picking up at the local pharmacy in our rural area when I can. Unfortunately, not in Henderson; it's since closed, but in Lesueur. So here I find I can interject some Ayurvedic recommendations here and there, and find it satisfying to help the community with day-to-day or even larger problems. For example, if someone's having sinus issues, I might recommend a neti pot. That's an Ayurvedic remedy. Dry eyes, get some castor oil. So these are some little things that can really help people. And then, when I heard there was going to be an Ayurveda school opening in Minnesota, I told my Ayurvedic practitioner that I would be the first student. I was like, yes, let's do this. I've been waiting for this. But as life would have it, life happened and delayed my entry. Um, and then after those life events, we ended up adopting our daughter from India. COVID happened, and then I thought, well, this is the time. Why not put something else on my plate? I like to do things big. So I enrolled in school, which had gone mostly online due to COVID, and the previous space had been damaged in South Minneapolis due to the George Floyd riots. So it was perfect timing, although not easy, as you can imagine. The logistics were better since I could be at home and not far from my family. Yet my hard work paid off, and in spring of 2023, I graduated from the Minnesota Institute of Ayurveda after 3 years of school and a 15-year dream. Even breaking my ankle and graduating on crutches did not stop me. So I am so excited to be realizing this dream and helping people in a different way. I understand both the East and Western aspects of medicine, which is a rare gift. You're not going to find that anywhere else. It is truly an honor to be stepping into the space of ancient wisdom and getting to the bottom of people's imbalances and issues. My pharmacy background will only enhance what I can offer my clients and is a huge asset that I'm thankful for. So I'm not going to just totally dismiss what I have learned. I see the value both in Eastern and Western medications and know when to apply them. So I will continue to keep up to date and work in pharmacy, but it may just look a little different as I build my Ayurvedic practice. So thank you for your support, whether you are new here, have been with me throughout this whole journey. It really does take a village. And this photo is of my 2006 graduation um, from the University of Minnesota College of Pharmacy.